Evelyn Carter, please come to my graduation. I know it's been 9 years, but I need you to be there. Lily's voice trembled on the other end of the phone, and I felt the air grow thick in my office on the 42nd floor. 9 years. 9 years since my own children slammed the door in my face and told me I was no longer welcome in their lives. I stayed silent, looking out the glass window that overlooked the entire city of Atlanta. From this height, I could see 3 of my hotels, their signs glowing in the afternoon sun. Carter Luxury Stays, etched in gold letters that no one in my family knew existed. No one except Lily. Evelyn Carter, are you still there? Her voice pulled me back to the present. Lily was the only one who never abandoned me, the only one who kept calling, writing, and visiting in secret all these years. While her parents treated me like a useless, outdated old woman, she saw me for who I truly was. "I'm here, my love," I answered, feeling emotion swell in my throat. "But you know your parents." I couldn't finish the sentence. The scars from 9 years ago were still there, healed but sensitive to the touch. "They don't know," Lily interrupted. "It's my personal invitation. I have the right to invite anyone I want. Besides, Mom and Dad have no idea who you really are now. They think you're the same woman they threw out of the house." I closed my eyes and remembered that day. Sophia yelling that I was a burden, that my ideas were antiquated, that I didn't understand the modern world. Marcus nodding from the couch, spineless as always, incapable of defending his own mother. "You'd be better off moving into an assisted living facility, Mama. You'll be better off there," my own daughter had told me, as if I were an object that had outlived its usefulness. I got up from my Italian leather chair and walked toward the window. The city stretched beneath my feet like a chessboard where I had learned to make the right moves. Every building, every street, every light flickering on at dusk reminded me of the road I had traveled alone. "Lily, 9 years have passed. Maybe it's better if things stay as they are," I whispered, even though a part of me was dying to see her walk toward that diploma that I had secretly paid for. "Evelyn Carter, you paid for my degree. You sent me money every month when they thought I had a scholarship. You listened to me cry on the phone when I felt lonely. You deserve to be in the front row watching me graduate with my medical degree." Her voice cracked a little. "Please, I need you to be there. I need you to see what we accomplished together." I looked over at my desk where I kept a framed photo of Lily in her white hospital coat from her residency. Beside it was a local newspaper featuring my photo in the business section. Aisha Ryland, the entrepreneur who revolutionized luxury hospitality in the region. If my children knew that the woman they considered finished now had a net worth of several $1,000,000, employed more than 500 people, and built an empire from scratch after they discarded me. I touched the photo frame. Lily had the same eyes I had at her age, that same determination that my own children never valued. She had inherited my strength, my vision, my ability to build something great from nothing. "Where's the ceremony?" I asked, and I could hear her sigh of relief. "At the University Auditorium this Saturday at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Evelyn Carter. Everyone will be there, all the relatives." She paused. "Including Mom and Dad." I felt a knot in my stomach. 9 years without seeing them, 9 years wondering if they ever thought of me, if they ever regretted treating me like trash. 9 years building a new life, a new identity, a success they could never imagine. "All right," I finally said, "I'll be there." "Seriously?" Lily sounded incredulous. "Seriously? But Lily, I want you to know something. I'm not the same woman they knew 9 years ago. I've changed. I've grown. I've built something they can't even imagine." "I know, Evelyn Carter. I always knew. That's why I need you to come so they can see who you really are." After hanging up, I stared at the city stretching beneath my feet. The phone rested in my hand, a familiar weight. Tomorrow, I would call my assistant to prepare everything: the perfect suit, the right car, the presents a woman like me deserved. Sophia and Marcus were about to discover they had gravely underestimated their mother. I smiled for the first time in months. After 9 years, it was time they knew the truth. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stayed on the terrace of my penthouse, wrapped in a cashmere throw, remembering how I had gotten here. The city lights shimmered below, but my mind traveled back 9 years to that small house where I thought I would die of sadness. Sophia was only about 35 when she told me she didn't need me anymore. Marcus, 2 years younger, was always her shadow. I remember wearing my navy blue dress that day, the one I used for important meetings at the job I had just quit to care for Lily when she was a baby. "Mama, honestly, you just don't know anything about the modern world anymore," Sophia had told me while clearing the table after lunch. "Your advice is useless. Your ideas are behind the times. We need space to grow as a family." I had left my career as a business administrator to help them with Lily. I had sold my small condo to give them the down payment for their house. I had spent my savings on Marcus's college tuition, on Sophia's whims, on everything they had asked me for over the years. "But I helped you with everything," I had told them that morning, my voice breaking. "I quit my job for you. I sold everything I had so you could have this house." Marcus sighed from the couch without even looking at me. "Mama, that was your decision. We never asked you to do all that." It was a painful lie. I remembered perfectly when Sophia came home crying because they couldn't pay the mortgage. I remembered when Marcus begged me to help him with college because he had failed classes and lost his scholarship. I remembered every tear, every plea, every time they told me I was the best mother in the world. "Besides, Mama," Sophia continued, "you're old now. You're 73. You should be thinking about resting, not sticking your nose in our lives." 73 years old, as if I were a helpless elderly woman, as if my mind had stopped working the day I turned 70, as if my years of experience, wisdom, and sacrifice were worth nothing. "But Lily," I whispered, thinking of my 13-year-old granddaughter who was at school. "She needs me. I watch her every afternoon." "We already got a babysitter," Marcus said, without looking up from his phone. "Someone younger, more up-to-date, someone who can understand technology and help her with homework." More up-to-date. That word hurt more than any shout. I, who had managed the finances of a major corporation for 20 years. I, who had raised 2 children alone after their father abandoned us. I, who had learned to use computers, the internet, and smartphones just to stay connected with them. "Mama, don't take it the wrong way." Sophia came closer and placed a hand on my shoulder with that fake smile she used when she wanted something. "We just need our space. You need our space too. You could travel, meet people your age. Do things you actually enjoy. Do things I actually enjoyed. What I truly enjoyed was watching them grow, caring for Lily, feeling useful, having a family that loved me. But apparently that was no longer enough. So what do you want me to do? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Well, Marcus finally sat up. We've been looking at some assisted living facilities. There are some really nice ones, with activities, people your age. You could be happy there. Assisted living facilities. They wanted to get rid of me, send me somewhere where I wouldn't bother them, where they could pretend they were still the perfect children everyone believed them to be. And what if I don't want to go to an assisted living facility? I asked, feeling the rage begin to replace the sadness. Mama, don't be difficult. So
they threw me out. I had nothing. I was 73 years old, alone. I decided to fight back. They didn't know. I built everything myself. 9 years later, they stood there, speechless. Sophia sighed. Look, we can help you with the expenses for the first few months, but after that, you'll have to manage on your Social Security check. My Social Security check? $600 a month? That wasn't even enough to rent a decent room. They knew it. They knew I had spent everything on them, that I had no savings, that my only security was them. But I have nowhere to go, I whispered. And for the first time in my life, I felt truly old, truly useless, truly finished. Well, Marcus shrugged, you have to find something. We can't support you forever. They couldn't support me after I had supported them their entire lives, after sacrificing my future for theirs. After believing that a mother's love was something valued, respected, and returned. That night, 9 years ago, I left their house with a small suitcase and a broken heart. I didn't know that rupture would be the best gift they had ever given me. Now, looking at the city lights from my terrace, I smiled. Tomorrow, they would see what I had done with that pension they were so worried about. The day I left their house, I cried for 3 hours straight on a park bench. I was 73 years old, had $600 in my pocket, and a suitcase with 4 old dresses. People walked by and looked away as if old age were contagious, as if my pain was an uncomfortable sight they preferred not to see. It was there, sitting on that splintered wooden bench, that I made the decision that would change my life forever. Aisha, I told myself out loud, not caring if people thought I was crazy. Either you die here of sadness, or you show them what you're made of. I remembered something I had learned in my years of work. There was always money for those who knew how to look for it. There were always opportunities for those who kept their eyes open. My children believed that because I was old, I was useless, but I knew something they didn't. Experience doesn't retire. The next day, with my last bit of cash, I bought a newspaper and looked for work. Not just any job. I looked for something where my experience was worth more than my age. I found a small ad in the employment section. Experienced administrator sought for small family-run inn. Urgent. The inn was a disaster. It had 15 rooms, half of them out of service, and its owners, an elderly couple older than me, were desperate to sell. Mr. Franklin Hayes was 80 years old, and his wife, Mrs. Betty Hayes, had lost her sight due to diabetes. They couldn't manage the business anymore. "Ma'am," Mr. Thompson said when he saw me arrive, "we need someone who understands numbers, who knows administration, but we can't pay much salary." "How much do you need for the inn?" I asked directly. He was silent for a moment. Well, we've appraised it at $50,000, but we're willing to negotiate. Why do you ask? Because I have a better proposal, I said, feeling the adrenaline rush through my veins. I'll manage the inn, get it running, and in exchange, I'll take 30% of the profits. When the inn is doing well, you give me the option to buy it outright. Mr. Thompson looked at me as if I had lost my mind. Ma'am, you don't understand. This inn is losing money. There are no profits to share. Let me work for 3 months, I insisted. If I don't make the inn profitable, I leave without charging a dime. But if I succeed, we have a deal. That night, I slept in one of the inn's rooms, on a bed that smelled of dampness and with the sound of broken pipes. My children thought I was finished, a burden, that I didn't understand the modern world. I was going to show them how wrong they were. The first month was the hardest of my life. I worked from 5 in the morning until 11 at night. I cleaned rooms, fixed what I could. I talked to suppliers, designed a new reservation system. I learned to use the internet not just for browsing, but to create a website, manage social media, and understand the tourism market. Modern world, huh? I'd mutter to myself as I learned to use computer programs my children didn't even know. We'll see who's outdated. The second month, the first guests started arriving. I had discovered that our location was perfect for travelers who wanted something intimate and homey, far from the big, impersonal hotels. I hired 2 young women from the neighborhood to help me with cleaning and taught them everything I knew about customer service. Miss Aisha Maria, one of the girls I hired at my first inn and who is now a regional manager, had told me, "You changed my life. Thanks to this job, I was able to study hotel management at night." "You changed your own life, Maria," I replied. "You had the talent and the drive to do it. I just gave you the opportunity." 3 years after they kicked me out of their house, I already had 5 hotels operating in 3 different cities. Carter Luxury Stays had become synonymous with elegance and family warmth across the region. But money and success weren't what filled me with the most pride. It was the transformation I had undergone internally. Every morning I woke up at 5:30 a.m., not because I had to, but because I wanted to. I dressed in elegant suits that I bought with my own money. I ate breakfast, savoring gourmet coffee and porcelain cups I had personally chosen for each of my hotels. "Good morning, Miss Ryland." Oliver, my personal assistant, greeted me every morning when I arrived at the central office. "You have a meeting with the Miami investors at 10, lunch with the mayor at 12, and the video conference with the Charleston team." Charleston, my 6th hotel, the ultimate and most ambitious, a restored colonial building in the historic center that would become the flagship of my chain. When I signed the contract of purchase, I remembered Marcus's words, "Mama, at your age, you should be thinking about resting." Resting. While he was still surviving on temporary jobs and Sophia was struggling to keep her office job, I was expanding my business regionally. While they argued over money to pay the bills, I had donated $50,000 to a local orphanage the month before. Miss Ryland, the orphanage director, Dr. Sarah Bennett, had told me with tears in her eyes, "This donation will allow us to completely renovate the education area. The children will have access to new computers, updated books, materials we never could have afforded." "Children are the future," I replied, thinking of Lily. "Investing in them is always the best decision." But there was more than money in my transformation. It was confidence, the feeling that every day I was building something bigger than myself. It was the satisfaction of seeing my employees grow professionally, seeing the families who worked with me improve their lives thanks to the well-paid jobs I offered. Miss Aisha, Maria, the girl I hired at my first inn and who is now a regional manager, had told me, "You changed my life. Thanks to this job, I was able to study hotel management at night. Now I have my own apartment. I can help my family. I have a future." "You changed your own life," I replied. "I just gave you the opportunity. You did the hard work." But at night, when I was alone in my penthouse, I sometimes thought of them. Sophia, Marcus, and especially Lily. My granddaughter was now 16, and according to our secret conversations, she was studying hard to get into medical school. "Evelyn Carter, I dream of being a doctor," she had told me on our last call, "but Mom says it's too expensive, that maybe I should study something more practical." "What does your heart say, my love?" I asked. "My heart says medicine. I want to help people. I want to do something important with my life." "Then study medicine," I told her firmly. "The money for college is always found when there is true vocation." I didn't tell her that I had already set aside $100,000 for her studies. I didn't tell her that her future was secured regardless of what her parents said, because Lily was different. Lily saw me for what I was, an intelligent, capable woman full of dreams and plans, not a useless old woman who needed to be discarded. "Evelyn Carter," she had asked me once, "why do Mom and Dad never talk about you?" When I ask, they change the subject. "Sometimes families get complicated, my love," I replied, "but you and I know who we are. That's what matters." One afternoon, while reviewing expansion plans for the New Orleans hotel, I received an unexpected call. It was a number I didn't recognize, but when I answered, I heard a familiar voice. "Ms. Ryland, this is Richard Collins from the Central Bank. We have a very interesting business proposal for you." Richard Collins was one of the vice presidents of the region's most important bank. We had met at a few business gatherings, but had never spoken directly. "The bank is interested in financing your national expansion," he continued. "We have been following the growth of Carter Luxury Stays, and we believe it has the potential to become a significant regional chain. We are talking about a line of credit of $5 million. $5 million? My children had believed that $600 a month in Social Security was all I could handle. Now a bank was offering me $5 million to expand my business. "I'm interested," I replied with the composure I had learned over these years of business. "Let's schedule a meeting to discuss the terms." After hanging up, I looked out my office window. Down on the street, I saw an older woman carrying grocery bags, walking slowly, ignored by everyone who passed her. 4 years ago, that could have been me, invisible, discarded, considered a nuisance by her own children. Now I was a respected businesswoman, a responsible employee, a successful investor. I had built something that would last, something that had value, something that proved that age was not a limit, but an advantage. And most importantly, I had learned to value myself without needing anyone else's approval. 5 years after being kicked out of my children's house, Carter Luxury Stays was a reality that surpassed my most ambitious dreams. I had 12 operating hotels, more than 800 employees, and had just been named Entrepreneur of the Year by the Regional Chamber of Commerce. But that recognition came with something I didn't expect. The first time my children found out about my real existence. "Aisha Ryland," Sophia had asked Lily over the phone, unaware that my granddaughter had the speakerphone activated and I could hear every word from my office. Could that be the same Aisha Ryland who was in the paper as a successful entrepreneur? "I don't know, Mom," Lily had replied with a naturalness that filled me with pride. "Lots of people have that name, but it says she's 78. And the last name, Lily. "Do you think it could be your Evelyn Carter?" My granddaughter was silent for a few seconds. I could imagine her face trying to decide what to say. We had agreed to keep our contact a secret, but we had never discussed what would happen if her parents started asking direct questions. "Mom, Evelyn Carter's in a retirement home," Lily finally said. "How could she be an entrepreneur?" Sophia was silent, but I could feel her doubt through the phone. Over the next few days, Lily told me her mother had been strangely nervous, asking questions about where I lived, exactly what I did, and if anyone had heard from me. "I think they suspect something, Evelyn Carter," Lily told me during one of our evening calls. "Mom's been asking a lot about you. She even told Dad they should visit you." "Visit me?" I couldn't help but laugh. "After 5 years of giving me the silent treatment?" "It's because you were in the business magazine again," Lily continued, "this time with a photo of you at the New Orleans hotel inauguration. Mom saw it at the dentist's office and nearly fainted." The photo. I remembered that session perfectly. I'd hired a professional photographer for the new hotel's advertising campaign. The image showed me elegant in a cream-colored tailored suit, cutting the ribbon in front of a beautiful colonial building, surrounded by local officials and important business owners. My silver hair perfectly styled, my posture erect, my smile self-assured. Nothing like the broken woman who had left their house 5 years earlier. "Lily," I said carefully, "what do you want me to do if they decide to look for me?" "I don't know, Evelyn Carter. Part of me wants them to know the truth, to know how wrong they were, but another part of me is afraid. They only want to get close now because you have money." Lily was right to worry. 2 weeks after that conversation, I received the first call from Marcus in 5 years. "Mama?" His voice sounded uncertain, as if he wasn't completely convinced it was me. "It's Marcus." I stayed silent for several seconds, feeling my heart pound. I was in my office reviewing contracts for the opening of Hotel 13 when my personal phone rang. I never expected to hear that voice. "Marcus," I finally said, keeping my tone neutral. "How did you get this number?" Well, Lily gave it to us. Mama, we need to talk. We found out some things about you that we don't understand." "What kind of things?" I asked, though I knew exactly what he was referring to. "Mama, is it true you have hotels? That you're a business owner?" His voice sounded incredulous, as if he were asking if I had gone to the moon. "Marcus, why are you interested in knowing now? Why? Because we don't understand how it's possible. When you left home, you only had your Social Security check. You had no money, no job. You had nothing." I had nothing. Those words hurt more than I wanted to admit. To them, I had nothing because they valued nothing about me. My experience, my intelligence, my capacity for work, my determination, none of it had counted. "Marcus," I said with the calm I had acquired in years of tough negotiations, "why are you really calling me?" "We want to see you, Mama. We want to talk to you. We want to understand what happened." What happened? The rage I had buried for 5 years began to rise like lava. "Do you really want me to tell you what happened?" "Mama, please. We know things didn't end well between us, but you're our family." Family? That word they had trampled when they pushed me out of their lives. That word they had ignored when they treated me like trash. That word they now wanted to use as an excuse to get close to my success. "Marcus, 5 years have passed. 5 years where you didn't care about me. 5 years where you didn't ask if I was dead or alive. And now suddenly I'm family? Mama, it's not like that. We always thought about you. It's just, well, you said you wanted your space." "I didn't say anything," I interrupted firmly. "You told me you didn't need me anymore. You told me I was a burden." You told me my ideas were behind the times, remember? Marcus fell silent. I could hear his nervous breathing through the phone. Mama, maybe we made mistakes. Maybe we said things we shouldn't have said, but now we want to fix things. Fix things? I got up from my desk and walked toward the window overlooking the city. Marcus, do you know what I did the first day after you threw me out of your house? No, Mama. I cried for 3 hours on a park bench. I cried because I thought I had failed as a mother. I cried because I thought I really was what you said, an old, useless, outdated woman. I cried because for the first time in my life, I felt completely alone. Mama. But then, I continued, feeling the strength return to my voice. Then I got up from that bench and decided to prove to myself that I was worth something. Not to you, to myself. And you succeeded, Marcus said in a small voice. The hotels, the success. Mama, we're proud of you. Proud. Now they were proud when I had money, when I was in magazines, when others respected me. Not when I worked 18 hours a day raising them, not when I sacrificed my future for theirs, not when I gave them everything I had without asking for anything in return. Marcus, I said with a coldness I had never used with my children before, would you have called me if you hadn't seen my photo in that magazine? A long, very long silence. Mama, that's not fair. Answer the question, Marcus. Would you have called me? More silence. That tells me everything I need to know, I finally said. If you want to talk to me, you can, but you'll have to come all the way here, and you'll have to explain to me why I'm suddenly worthwhile now. I hung up the phone before he could reply. My hands were shaking, not from fear, it was pure adrenaline. For the first time in my life, I had set clear boundaries with my children. For the first time in my life, the power was on my side. After that call with Marcus, 3 months passed without news. 3 months in which I continued to expand my empire, while they, as Lily told me, were living in a mix of curiosity and financial desperation. My granddaughter had started sharing more details about their parents' real situation, and the irony was painful and satisfying at the same time. Evelyn Carter, Dad lost his job last month, Lily had told me during one of our nightly conversations. He says the company was doing layoffs, and the first to go were the employees over 45. Marcus was 43, 2 years younger than I was when he and Sophia decided I was too old to be useful. Life has curious ways of teaching lessons. And your mom? I asked, though I already guessed the answer. Mom is desperate. They've been knocking on doors asking to borrow money. They even went to talk to the paternal grandparents, but they don't have much either. Uncle Armando loaned them something, but it wasn't enough to catch up on the mortgage. The mortgage, the same house for which I had sold my condo and given the entire down payment, the house where they had told me I was no longer welcome. Now they were on the verge of losing it due to missed payments. Lily, do they know you and I talk? I asked carefully. Do they suspect anything? Mom has asked me several times if you know how to contact you. I told her no, but I don't think she fully believes me. Plus, they've been asking strange questions about you. What kind of questions? Questions about how many hotels you have, how much money you might have, about whether you'd give them jobs. Dad even asked if you thought you'd loan him money to start a business. A business? Marcus, who had never been able to hold a job for 2 years, now wanted me to finance a business for him? The same Marcus who had told me my ideas were outdated, that I didn't understand the modern world. And what did you tell them? I told them the truth, that I have no idea how you feel about them after so many years of silence. Lily was smart. At 19, she had more emotional maturity than both her parents combined. She was already in her second year of medical school, secretly financed by me, and her grades were excellent. Her professors adored her. She had a research scholarship and had started volunteering at the university hospital. "Evelyn Carter, I have to tell you something," she said that night with a serious voice. "Mom and Dad are planning to come see you." "Come see me? Where have they been investigating?" "They found the address of your main office. Dad says they're going to show up without calling. They're going to surprise you so you can't avoid them." I was silent, processing the information. After 5 years of silence, after treating me like trash, they were going to show up at my office uninvited? The audacity was stunning. "When?" I asked. "Tomorrow afternoon. I overheard Mom telling Dad that it was better to go when you were working, so you'd have to see them." That night, I didn't sleep. Not from nerves, but from strategy. If Marcus and Sophia wanted to play, we were going to play, but we were going to play on my rules, on my territory, and on my terms. At 7 in the morning, I called Oliver, my assistant. "Oliver, I need you to cancel all my appointments for tomorrow afternoon, and I need you to prepare something special." "What kind of preparation, Miss Ryland?" "I want you to contact the managers of all our hotels. I need a video conference with all 12 of them tomorrow at 3 in the afternoon in the main boardroom. I also want you to invite Mr. Vance from the bank, Dr. Sarah Bennett from the hospital where we donated the medical equipment last month, and the mayor if he's available. An unusual occasion. I am receiving unexpected visitors and I want them to clearly understand who they are dealing with." The next day passed normally until 2:30 p.m. I was in my office, dressed in my most elegant suit, a navy blue Armani I had bought the month before, when Oliver notified me over the intercom. "Miss Ryland, there are 2 people at reception who say they are your family. They don't have an appointment, but they insist it's urgent." "Have them wait in the small reception room," I instructed. "I'll see them in 15 minutes. 15 minutes, exactly. Not because I was busy, but because I wanted them to understand that my time had value, that I was no longer the woman who dropped everything to attend to their needs. When I finally went down to the waiting room, I saw them before they saw me. Marcus looked nervous, taking everything in with wide eyes, clearly impressed by the facilities. Sophia trying to maintain her composure, but I could see her eyes scanning every detail: the Italian leather furniture, the original artwork on the walls, the panoramic view of the city. "Marcus? Sophia?" My voice sounded colder than I planned. They turned around at the same time. Marcus looked older, more tired. He had gray hair as I didn't remember, and new wrinkles around his eyes. Sophia had gained weight, and her clothes, though trying to look elegant, were clearly department store quality. "Mama," Marcus stood up quickly, You look incredible." "Thank you," I replied without smiling. "To what do I owe this unexpected visit?" "Mama, we wanted to talk to you." Sophia approached with that fake smile I knew so well. "It's been so long since we've seen each other. We've missed you so much." "Really?" My tone remained neutral. "You've missed me during the 5 years you didn't bother to call, or only since you saw my photo in that magazine?" They looked at each other, clearly uncomfortable. "Mama, we know things didn't end well between us," Marcus began. "But we've been thinking a lot and we realized we made mistakes." "Mistakes?" I stared at them. They called me telling me I was a burden, that my ideas were outdated, that I should move to a retirement home. Mistakes? "Mama, we were going through tough times," Sophia said. "Maybe we said things we didn't mean." "Ah, I see. So when you told me I didn't need me anymore, that I had to move on with their lives without me, those were also things you didn't mean?" Just then, my phone rang. It was Oliver. "Miss Ryland, the video conference is ready. All 12 managers are connected. Mr. Vance just arrived, and we have the mayor on the line from his office. Perfect, Oliver. I'll be there in 5 minutes. I hung up and turned back to Marcus and Sophia, who had overheard the entire conversation. Excuse me, but I have an important meeting with my regional managers and several local officials. We are discussing the opening of 3 new hotels and a significant donation to the new children's hospital. Sophia's eyes widened. 3 new hotels? Yes, one in Dallas, another in Houston, and the third in New Orleans. The total investment is approximately $8 million. Marcus's mouth dropped open. $8 million? More money than they had seen in their entire lives. But we can continue our conversation afterward, I continued. If you like, you can wait. The meeting will last approximately 2 hours. 2 hours? Sophia looked desperate. Mama, we actually came to talk about something.
They threw me out. They packed my belongings in a few boxes and told me it was time to go to a retirement home. I had nothing. I was 73 years old, alone and frightened. But I decided to fight back. They didn't know. I knew more than they thought. I built everything myself. 9 years later, they stood there speechless. Mama, we have some financial problems, Sophia confessed, and we thought that maybe you could help us. There it was. The truth was finally out. They hadn't come out of love. They hadn't come out of remorse. They hadn't come because they missed me. They had come for the money. I understand, I said with a smile that didn't reach my eyes. And what kind of help do you need exactly? They looked at each other again. Sophia took the lead. The truth is, we might lose the house. Marcus lost his job and we're behind on the payments. We just need about $30,000 to get current and maybe a little more so Marcus can start a small business. $30,000? For me, that was less than what I spent decorating a president's suite. For them, it was the difference between having a home and living on the street. Let me see if I understand, I said slowly. You, who told me 5 years ago that you didn't need me anymore, who kicked me out of your lives because I was a burden, are now coming to ask me for money because you're in trouble? Mama, we're family, Sophia said in a pleading voice. Families help each other. You're right, I replied. Families help each other. But where was my family when I needed help? Where was my family when I was left without a home, without money, without anything? But you made it, Marcus protested. Look at you now. You have all of this. Exactly. I have all of this because I built it alone, without your help, without your support, in spite of you. At that moment, Oliver appeared at the door. Ms. Ryland, I apologize for the interruption, but they are waiting for you in the boardroom. Thank you, Oliver. I turned back to Marcus and Sophia. As I said, I have an important meeting. If you want to talk, you'll have to wait, or you can come back when you have a scheduled appointment. Mama, please, Sophia stepped closer. It's only $30,000 to you. That's nothing. I looked at her intently for several seconds. You're right, Sophia. $30,000 is nothing to me. But you know what is something to me? Respect, dignity, the acknowledgement that I am more than a bank you can run to when you're desperate. We respect you, Mama, Marcus said. We always have. Really? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You respected me when you called me outdated? You respected me when you sent me to look for a retirement home. You respected me when you closed the door and decided I was no longer part of your lives. They couldn't answer. I'm going to my meeting, I announced. When I finish, we can continue this conversation. But I want you to understand something. Money doesn't erase the past, and if you want me to consider you family again, you're going to have to prove that you understand the damage you did to me. I walked out of the room, leaving them speechless.
For the first time in my life, I was the one who had set the rules of the game, and it felt incredibly good. When I returned from my meeting 2 hours later, Marcus and Sophia were still in the waiting room. I found them talking in low voices, clearly nervous, looking at every detail of the facilities as if they were appraising everything they saw. Seeing me enter, they immediately stood up. "How did the meeting go?" Sophia asked with a forced smile, trying to sound casual. "Very well," I replied dryly. "We confirmed the opening of the 3 new hotels and approved the $2 million donation to the Children's Hospital." I saw Marcus swallow hard when he heard the figure, a $2 million donation, money I gave away to help sick children, while they came to ask me for $30,000 as if it were a favor between friends. "Mama," Marcus approached, "we've been thinking while we waited. We want you to know that we are truly sorry for how things ended between us." "Sorry?" I looked at both of them. "Sorry for what, exactly?" For everything," Sophia said, tears in her eyes. "For telling you to leave, for not valuing everything you did for us, for treating you badly." "Treating you badly?" My voice rose a little. "Sophia, you didn't treat me badly. You destroyed me. You made me feel like I was trash, like 50 years of being your mother was worth nothing." "We exaggerated," Marcus admitted. "We were stressed. We had financial pressures, and maybe we took out our frustrations on you." "Took out your frustrations?" I sat down in one of the armchairs, forcing them to remain standing. "Marcus, do you remember what you told me the last day I was in your house?" Marcus looked away. "Mama, that was a long time ago." "I'll refresh your memory," I interrupted. "You told me I was a burden, that my advice was useless, that you needed space to grow as a family, and that the best thing was for me to go to a retirement home because I'd be better off." "Mama, and you, Sophia?" I turned toward my daughter. "You told me my ideas were behind the times, that I didn't understand the modern world, that I should move away because I no longer fit into your lives." Sophia looked uncomfortable, wringing her hands. "Maybe we used very harsh words. Maybe." I got up from the armchair. "Sophia, you threw me out as if I were an employee you no longer needed, as if 50 years of being your mother was worth nothing." "But now we understand that we were wrong," Marcus insisted. "That's why we're here. We want to repair our relationship." "Repair our relationship?" I looked at them intently. "Repair your financial situation." An uncomfortable silence followed. I could see them looking at each other, trying to decide what to say. "Mama, it's true that we're going through tough times," Sophia finally admitted, "but that doesn't mean we only came for money." "No." I took out my phone and dialed another number. "Oliver, can you come here for a moment?" My assistant appeared in less than a minute. "Oliver, do you remember the first time my children tried to contact me 3 months ago?" "Yes, Ms. Ryland. It was after the article about you came out in the business magazine." "Exactly." I turned to Marcus and Sophia. 5 years without a single call. 5 years without asking if I was alive or dead. But a week after my photo appeared in a business magazine, suddenly you remembered you had a mother. "That's not fair," Sophia protested. "We always thought about you." "Really?" I pulled out my phone again and dialed another number. "Lily, my love, can you come to my office? There's something I want you to hear." "Lily?" Marcus looked confused. "Lily is here." "Lily works with me on the weekends," I explained. "It's part of her practical training for medicine. She's also my personal assistant for some special projects." A few minutes later, Lily entered the room. Seeing her parents, she froze at the door.
"Hi, Dad. Hi, Mom," she said in a tense voice. "Lily, what are you doing here?" Sophia asked in surprise. "I work here," Lily replied firmly. "Evelyn Carter has been helping me with my medical studies, and I help her with some projects." "Helping you? How?" Marcus looked confused. "Lily, you said you had a scholarship." "I lied," Lily admitted. "Evelyn Carter asked me to keep our relationship a secret because you had hurt her badly, but we've been in contact this whole time." "This whole time?" Marcus looked betrayed. "5 years talking to your Evelyn Carter behind our backs?" "Yes, Dad. 5 years where the only person who truly cared about my future was Evelyn Carter. 5 years where you kept saying medical school was too expensive, while she had set aside all the necessary money." Sophia sank in a chair, clearly overwhelmed. "I can't believe it. This whole time?" "This whole time," I continued, "you've been telling people that your mother was in a retirement home, that she was a poor old woman who knew nothing of the modern world. Meanwhile, that poor old woman was building an empire and securing her granddaughter's future." "Mama, we didn't know," Marcus began. "You didn't know because you didn't want to know," I interrupted him. "You didn't know because from the moment you kicked me out of your lives, you decided I no longer existed to you." "But now we do want to know," Sophia insisted. "Now we want to be part of your life again." "Now," I laughed bitterly, "now that you know I have money, now that you know I can solve your financial problems?" "It's not just about the money," Marcus protested. I looked at them defiantly. "Marcus, if I were still the same woman you threw out 5 years ago, if I were still living on $600 of Social Security in a small room, would you have come looking for me?" Marcus couldn't answer. "Exactly," I continued. "If I were still the outdated woman who didn't understand the modern world, if I were still the burden you wanted to send to a retirement home, you wouldn't be here." "But things changed," Sophia said desperately. "You changed, we changed, everything changed." "You're right," I admitted. I changed. I changed because I had to. I changed because you forced me to. I changed because I discovered I could live without your love, but I couldn't live without my dignity." Lily stepped closer and took my hand. "Evelyn Carter, maybe you should tell them everything." "Tell them what, my love? About the graduation? About my invitation?" There it was, the moment I had been waiting for without knowing it. "What graduation?" Sophia asked. Lily looked at me for permission. I nodded slowly. "My medical school graduation," Lily said clearly. "Next Saturday. I finished all my studies and I'm graduating as a doctor." "You're graduating already?" Marcus looked stunned. "But you're only 22 years old." "I'm 22 because I started early and because I had the necessary financial support to concentrate completely on my studies," Lily explained. "Thanks to Evelyn Carter, I never had to work to pay for college. I was able to dedicate myself full-time to studying, and the graduation is on Saturday." Sophia seemed to process the information slowly. "Yes? And I invited Evelyn Carter as my guest of honor." The silence that followed was deafening. Marcus and Sophia looked at each other, clearly understanding the implications. "Lily," Sophia said slowly, "we're invited too." Lily looked at me again. This time it was I who answered. "Lily can invite anyone she wants to her graduation," I said calmly. "It's her special day. But I want you to understand something. That day, I'm not going as the repentant mother you kicked out 5 years ago. I'm going as the woman who financed Lily's education, as the entrepreneur who built all of this, as the Evelyn Carter who never stopped believing in her granddaughter." "Mama," Sophia began. "That day," I continued, "Lily is going to discover who her family truly is. She's going to discover who was there when she needed it and who only shows up when it's convenient." I left them with those words ringing in the air.
The graduation was in 5 days, and it would be the perfect moment for everyone to understand how things had changed, to understand who held the power. The day of the graduation dawned perfect. Blue skies, ideal temperature, and a gentle breeze that moved the curtains of my penthouse as I prepared for the most important event in the last 5 years. It wasn't just Lily's graduation, it was my official reappearance in my children's lives, but this time on my terms. I dressed carefully. A cream-colored Chanel suit I had bought especially for the occasion, low-heeled but elegant Italian shoes, and the jewelry I had inherited from my mother but never had the chance to wear when I lived with them. The natural pearl necklace, the diamond earrings, the Cartier watch I had gifted myself the previous year. Each piece told a story of success, of recovered dignity. Ms. Ryland, Oliver told me when I arrived at the office that morning, the car is ready for 4 o'clock. I confirmed the reservation at the restaurant for after the ceremony. Confirm for 8 people, I replied. Lily can invite whoever she wants to celebrate. I had reserved the private dining room at the Belvedere, the most exclusive restaurant in the city. I wanted Lily's day to be perfect, regardless of what happened with Marcus and Sophia. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Lily called me from the university campus. "Evelyn Carter, I'm nervous," she said, her voice trembling. "Not about the graduation, but about what's going to happen when Mom and Dad see you." "My love, today is not a day for nerves," I replied gently. "Today is your day. Today we celebrate you becoming a doctor. Everything else is secondary. You're coming in the company car." I smiled. Lily knew I had several luxury cars, but I had chosen the newest Mercedes-Benz S-Class in the fleet, not to show off, but because I wanted to arrive with the elegance appropriate for a successful businesswoman. "Yes, my love, and I'll be in the front row applauding louder than anyone when you walk toward that diploma." At 4 o'clock exactly, my chauffeur opened the Mercedes door in front of the main entrance of the university auditorium. I could feel people's stares as I walked toward the entrance. My posture was erect, my steps assured, my expression serene yet powerful. "Ms. Ryland?" A young man with a press badge approached. "I'm from the local paper. Could we take a photo? We know your granddaughter is graduating and that you financed her studies." "Of course," I replied with an elegant smile, "but today the spotlight is on Lily." As I posed for the photo, I saw Marcus and Sophia arriving out of the corner of my eye. They were in an old car, clearly nervous, dressed in the best they had, which was clearly not enough for the occasion. I watched them stop as they saw me posing for the press, their faces reflecting a mixture of shock and what appeared to be envy. I finished with the photographer and headed toward the entrance. Marcus and Sophia approached tentatively. "Mama," Sophia said, "you look incredible." "Thank you," I replied courteously. "You both look well too." It was a lie, but there was no point in being cruel. Marcus was wearing a suit he had obviously rented for the occasion, and Sophia was in a dress that had seen better days. The difference between us was immense, but I no longer found satisfaction in humiliating them. I only felt empty. "Can we sit together?" Marcus asked hopefully. "I have reserved seats in the front row as Lily's guest of honor. You can sit where the ushers seat you." I saw them swallow. Guest of honor? That meant Lily had given me the place traditionally reserved for parents. We entered the auditorium and I immediately noticed the difference. I was escorted by an usher to the front row where there was a chair with a small golden plaque that read, "Ms. Aisha Ryland, Guest of Honor." Next to me were seats reserved for university officials and major university benefactors. Marcus and Sophia were directed to the 5th row in regular seating, like any other family.
"Miss Ryland," an older man in academic robes approached. "I am the dean of the School of Medicine. It's an honor to have you here. Lily has told us so much about you." "The honor is mine, Doctor. Lily is an exceptional young woman." "She is, and we want to personally thank you for your generous donation to the new research lab. Thanks to your contribution, many students like Lily will have better opportunities." "Donation to the lab? From my seat, I could see Marcus and Sophia exchanging confused glances. They knew nothing about that donation. They knew nothing about my real relationship with the university. The ceremony began, and when Lily's name was called, I stood up and applauded with all my heart. My granddaughter walked toward the stage with elegance, confidence, and a radiant smile. When she received her diploma, she looked directly at me and winked. Lily Ryland Moran, the dean announced, who graduates summa cum laude and has been awarded the Aisha Ryland Academic Excellence Scholarship to continue her specialization studies. The Aisha Ryland Scholarship. I had established that scholarship the year before for outstanding medical students. Lily had not only earned the right to proudly bear my last name, but she had proven she deserved to carry my legacy into the future. After the ceremony, as people dispersed, Lily ran toward me. "Evelyn Carter, we did it!" She hugged me tightly. "You did it, my love. I just gave you the tools. The hard work was all yours." Marcus and Sophia approached slowly. I could see on their faces that they had fully understood the situation. I had not only financed Lily's studies, but had established scholarships, donated equipment, and become a major university benefactor. "Congratulations, Lily," Sophia said in a choked voice. "We are so proud of you." "Thank you, Mom," Lily replied, but her hug was brief and formal. "Lily," I said, "I have reserved the private dining room at the Belvedere to celebrate. You can invite whomever you want." "The Belvedere?" Marcus looked stunned. "But that's the most expensive restaurant in the city." "Today there are no budgets," I simply replied. "It's my granddaughter's graduation day." Lily looked at me lovingly. "I want Mom and Dad to come too. Despite everything, they are my parents." I felt a pang in my heart. Lily was more generous than I had been capable of being. Wiser, too. "Of course, my love, it's your decision." At the restaurant, the difference became even more evident. The maitre d' knew me personally, the chef came out to greet me, and we were served the most exclusive tasting menu. Marcus and Sophia were clearly out of their element, looking at the menu prices with increasingly wide eyes. "Mama," Marcus finally said as we waited for dessert, "we need to talk about..." "About what?" "About us, about family, about everything." I looked at both of them. They looked small, insecure, completely different from the people who had kicked me out of their lives 5 years ago. "What exactly do you want to say?" "We want to apologize," Sophia said, tears in her eyes. "We were wrong. We were terribly wrong about you." "And what do you expect me to do with that apology?" "We want you to give us another chance," Marcus pleaded. "We want to be a family again." I looked at Lily, who was watching the scene intently. Then I looked at my 2 children, so different now, so vulnerable. "Marcus, Sophia," I said slowly, "you taught me something very valuable 5 years ago." "What?" "You taught me that I can live without you. You taught me that I am stronger than I thought. You taught me that my worth does not depend on being needed by my children." They stayed silent. "But Lily taught me something different," I continued, looking at my granddaughter with affection. "She taught me that I can still love without losing my dignity, that I can still give without being used." "Mama," Sophia began. "The difference," I continued, "is that Lily chose me when you discarded me. Lily valued me when you belittled me. Lily saw my potential when you only saw my age." Marcus lowered his head. "We understand that you're resentful." "I'm not resentful," I replied with honesty. "Resentment is a poison that only hurts me. I decided a long time ago to let go of the anger." "Then is there hope for us?" Sophia asked. I looked at them for several seconds.
There is a difference between forgiving and forgetting. I can forgive you, but I can't pretend the last 5 years didn't happen. I can't pretend you hurt me deeply. What do you need from us? Marcus asked. Time, I replied. Time to see if you have truly changed, or if you are only here because it's convenient now. Time to see if you can love the successful woman I am now, or if you only want to use the rich entrepreneur you discovered. Lily took my hand under the table. Evelyn Carter, I think they deserve a chance. You think so, my love? I think everyone deserves a second chance, but I also think second chances are earned, not given away. I looked at Marcus and Sophia. Are you willing to earn that second chance? They both nodded vigorously. Then we'll start slowly, I finally said. Very slowly, and by my rules. For the first time in 5 years, I saw something like hope in their eyes. But for the first time in 5 years, I was the one who had all the control. 6 months after the graduation, things had changed in ways I never imagined. Marcus had found work at one of my hotels, not through favoritism, but because he proved he could learn and work hard. Sophia had started therapy to understand why she had treated her own mother so badly, and slowly, very slowly, we were rebuilding something that resembled a family relationship, but the rules remained mine. Good morning, Mama, Sophia said when she arrived at my office that Thursday morning. She no longer called without warning. She no longer assumed she had a right to my time or attention. Good morning, Sophia. How was therapy yesterday? Good. We talked about guilt, about how fear made me hurt you. She sat across from my desk, no longer with her former arrogance, but with genuine respect. Can I ask you something? Of course. Do you think you'll ever be able to completely forgive me? I looked at her for several seconds. It was a question I had asked myself many times in the recent months. Sophia, forgiveness is something that happens overnight. It's a process, and that process includes seeing real changes, not just words. I understand, she said in a small voice. And what changes have you seen? I've seen Marcus get up every day at 6 in the morning to go to work. I've seen him respect his colleagues, learn from his mistakes, and not use our family relationship to get special favors. Marcus had started as a concierge at the Dallas hotel and had been promoted based on his own merit. He was now an assistant manager, and his superiors didn't know he was my son until he told them himself after 3 months on the job. Excellent.
I've seen you go to therapy every week, I continued. I've seen you apologize to Lily for putting her in the middle of our problems. I've seen you trying to understand why you hurt me so badly. And is that enough? She asked hopefully. It's a start, I replied honestly. But Sophia, I need you to understand something. I am no longer the same woman you knew. I won't go back to being the mother who sacrifices in silence, who gives everything without receiving anything in return, who allows herself to be mistreated because she is afraid of being alone. We don't want you to go back to being that woman, she said quickly. We want to get to know the woman you are now. Just then, Lily entered the office. She was officially my executive assistant while completing her specialization in pediatrics. Working with me allowed her to gain experience in hospital administration, something that would be useful in her future as a doctor. Evelyn Carter, the confirmation from New Orleans just came in. Hotel number 15 officially opens next month. 15 hotels. In just 6 years, I had built a chain that competed with the best in the country. But more important than the numbers was what I had learned about myself in the process. Excellent news, I told Lily. Then I turned to Sophia. Would you like to come to the inauguration? Her eyes lit up. Seriously? Seriously? But not as the daughter who owes me favors, but as part of the family we are slowly rebuilding. I would love to, she said with a genuine smile. That afternoon, after Sophia left, I stayed alone in my office, watching the sunset from the window. Lily came over and sat in the chair across from my desk. "How do you feel about all of this, Evelyn Carter?" "Confused sometimes," I admitted. "Part of me wants to go back to being the family we were before. Another part remembers the pain and resists. And which part wins?" "The part that learned that true love includes respect," I replied. "The part that understood that being a mother doesn't mean being a doormat." Lily smiled. "I think you found the perfect balance." "You think so?" "Yes, you give them opportunities, but you don't let them hurt you. You love them, but you don't forget to love yourself first." She was right. For years, I had believed that loving my children meant disappearing as a person. Now, I knew that true love requires both parties to respect each other. "Lily, do you ever regret keeping in touch with me all these years?" "Never," she answered without hesitation. "You were the only one who believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself. You taught me that I could be a doctor, that I could study at the best universities, that I could have big dreams. You did all the hard work, but you gave me the tools and the confidence. And most importantly, you taught me that the women in our family are strong, that we can build empires, that we can survive betrayals, and that we can forgive without being fools." That night, as I had dinner alone in my penthouse, I thought about the journey traveled. From that broken woman on the park bench to the successful businesswoman I was now. From the discarded mother to the respected and cherished Evelyn Carter. My phone rang. It was Marcus. "Mama, I wanted to tell you that today they named me regional manager. They're giving me responsibility for supervising 3 hotels." "Congratulations, Marcus. You earned it." "Mama, I know things haven't been easy between us, but I want you to know that every day I spend working in your hotels, I understand better what an extraordinary woman you are. Thank you, son. And I want you to know that I no longer work there because you're my mother. I work there because I believe in what you've built, because I respect your vision, and because I want to be part of something as big as what you've created." After hanging up, I poured myself a glass of wine and went out to the terrace. The city shimmered beneath my feet, full of possibilities, full of life. I had learned that revenge had never been the goal. Freedom, yes, the freedom to be valued, respected, and loved for who I truly was. The freedom to build something of my own, something no one could take away from me. I had learned that I didn't need permission to live my life fully. I didn't need my children's approval to feel valuable. I didn't need to be useful to be loved. I had learned that age was not a limitation, but an advantage. That experience was not obsolescence, but wisdom. That starting over at 73 was not the end, but a new beginning. I looked at the stars and smiled. Tomorrow there would be more hotels to plan, more employees to lead, and more dreams to build. But tonight, I would simply enjoy something that had taken me 78 years to achieve. The peace of knowing that I was enough exactly as I was, and that no one would ever be able to make me believe otherwise again. Did you like my story? If you listened till the end, drop a number 1 in the comments. If you enjoyed it, you can support me by liking the video and sending a small tip. I've got lots of other life stories like this on my channel, so make sure to subscribe and check them out. I've added 2 new stories on screen that everyone loves. Thanks for being here. See you in the next one.